Well, hello there, and welcome to the Dana Spencer Show, where we talk about solving problems, building relationships, quitting corporate, and the freedom to walk in our God given purpose. And I hope you have the activity of your limbs. You've been able to get out, get some exercise, get some sun. This is the day that the Lord hath made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. And I hope you're glad today because I am super glad today because I have the one and only Coach Dantzler in the building. Yay, give him a warm welcome. How are we feeling today, Coach Dantzler?
I'm doing good. I'm feeling good. How are you?
I'm doing really, really well. So, and I know you are a busy man, so I'm just going to jump right on in. So, as a little boy, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Uh, I would say probably more into like broadcasting or acting or something like that nature.
So you wanted to be the next Denzel Washington, or who was your idol growing up?
Oh, I'm a Eddie Murphy guy.
Oh, okay. So you
Comedy.
like the yes. So you
Yeah,
like to tell a couple of two, three jokes every now and then?
yeah. I'm a jokester.
Okay, okay. Absolutely. So how did your path cross into coaching?
Just playing athletics all my life, and then I had the opportunity to get into coaching at a very young age, and it was something that was very natural to me, more like a calling. So it wasn't something I sought out to do. I just happened to be really good with kids, happened to be really good with teaching, and I've been blessed to do it for the last 24 years.
Wow. So what sports were you? So there's a couple of things. So in terms of, sometimes coaches are saying or people or whomever are like just focus on one sport, but then there's try baseball and try basketball and try football. What was it that you particularly specialized in?
Uh, I would say my passion was probably basketball. My quality or best sport was probably track, but of course, football. I did it all. I just stayed busy. I think staying busy is very important. It keeps you out of a lot of idle time and a lot of distraction, especially as a teenager. So I try to incorporate that with the same young man that I'm coaching today.
Absolutely. So it doesn't matter, you don't have to specialize anything. Just stay busy. Just stay out of trouble and just stay busy.
Yeah, an athlete is an athlete.
I love that. An athlete is an athlete. So in terms of your career, so you played in high school and then did you go on to college or tell us a little bit about your background in sports?
Yeah, I'm from Monroe, Louisiana. So, of course, I played at Wossman High School in Monroe, Louisiana. And then I went to Southeastern Louisiana University. Was an athlete there for 4 years. And then I got into coaching pretty much after that. I was doing some professional stuff, kind of got injured, and that didn't last very long. So I was blessed. I got straight into coaching, and I've been coaching ever since.
So tell us about that because there's a lot of people out there who want to go in the NFL and they want to go professional. And you said you had a couple injuries. So tell us about that and how you were able to transition into your plan B, if you will.
The major thing for me was that I had already got my degree, so I took care of the educational part. So if things didn't work, I wasn't chasing a ghost. I called it a ghost. So I wasn't chasing a ghost. I already had my degree, which allowed me, if opportunities present themselves, I can pursue them. And that's kind of what happened. I was sitting there and I was training, and of course, stress fracture and all that stuff. And then guy asked me if I wanted to come volunteer and coach. I said, well, sure, I ain't doing anything. And I had a degree. I was like, well, how do I turn my degree into a teaching license? And the rest was history.
Nice, nice. I love that. And so, what you just said, how important is it to build relationships?
Yes. Oh, relationships is everything. It's an old saying, show me your friends, I'll show you your future. You are a big percentage of what you hang out with or the people that you tend to associate with. And that can be a blessing and a curse. Those relationships can turn out to be really great over the years, or they can hinder you over the years. So relationships is everything. I try not to burn no bridges. That's just me, uh, if I can. So, but at the same time, when you get into the relationships, I'm also one where I'm an open-minded person. I don't really see a stranger. I think you have to meet people where they are. You have to get to know people, and you realize you have just as much in common as you think you have apart.
Now, are you seeing a shift because we have teenagers, and you said you've been coaching for 24 years, so the athletes from year one versus the athletes at year 24. Are you seeing a difference in terms of the athletes from back in the day till where we are now?
Oh, absolutely. It's harder for kids now to really do all the multiple sports because of the pace is faster. I think when you look, especially today, when you think about the transfer portal, which is new now, and you're competing with 22, 23-year-old guys as opposed to 17, 18-year-old guys. When we was coming out of school, it would be more of guys your age that you would be competing with for scholarships and things of that nature. It is really more about business and branding. So that's what I tell them. Branding is the new thing. You have to your brand, you have to build your brand, and that takes a lot of work.
Yeah, branding is everything. And I was just talking about that recently because you can be the best athlete, but if nobody knows that, you're the best, then you may as well not even be playing. It's crazy. So
Right.
what are some of the things that you encourage your athletes to do as it relates to branding? What are some tips that you give to them?
One is just having a knowledge of the sport. I think that was something that I've always done. Is I've always been a student of the game, all sports, not just the ones that I participated in or played, but just being a student of the game, understanding the history, just like you would in anything. Do your research, understanding the history, have an appreciation for it. Uh, then also look at how it's evolving over the times, because nothing stays the same. Things are always evolving. And then being willing to pay it forward is important too when you talk about branding. You know, uh, Nothing good probably comes really, really fast. So, it's a process for a reason.
Oh man, and we live in a society. Coach, we don't even want to hear that. It takes time. What? It's a process. What? Because we
Yeah,
live in this generation where we want everything. Like we want to be in the NFL like tomorrow. We want everything now. We are a microwave generation, and you're telling us that we need to be patient. How does that go
yeah.
over with your team?
Oh, I mean, I think they understand, we do a good, because I'm a big development type coach. A lot of guys are probably more recruiters. My career wasn't built off, I always tell them if I wanted to recruit, I coach college, which I did for a small amount of time. I would coach college if I wanted to recruit. I consider myself more of a development. So I take pleasure in taking that kid that's in the eighth grade. He gets to Central in the ninth grade, and by the time he leaves 12th grade, he's signing a letter to go play sports somewhere else. And it's the process and the journey that I get. That's what keeps me going. It's not the destination. So I think when you look at the time, you can get there, but then you be in the NFL, all right, not long. But it's a process and everything.
Yeah, I love that you have the development mentality. So I'm gonna go here and then I'm gonna jump back. In terms of the difference between coaching at the college level versus the high school level, like what was the difference there where you prefer the high school over college?
For me, of course, I was young, so I think for me the biggest thing was family. When I talk about family, like being a dad, the time that you have to give away, I wasn't willing to sacrifice that. And then also uh, college, a lot of them, they're already talented, so you don't, you're coaching. Don't get me wrong, but you're really recruiting. If I put a bunch of diamonds together, iron's going to sharpen iron, and So, the cream will rise eventually if I go out and recruit a bunch of top athletes and put them all. That don't happen in a high school. You have to take what you got and you gotta make it work.
Yeah, and you've done that. So, I was looking a little bit at your stats, and everything that you touched turned into championships. I mean, you won several state championships, and all of these championships, thinking about how you have developed these players over time. What would you say has been the key to your success to win all these championships?
I think you already touched on it. I think the key to my success is relationships. I'm a relationship building person. So I think, the more they know you care, you can do, I mean, the sky's the limit, but you have to be able to reach them where they are. They have to have total buy-in. Because, to win, you have to be able to coach them hard. And you can't coach them hard without spending a lot of time with them. You can't just walk up to total strangers and be Coach Dantzler. You have to build those relationships. So I spend a lot of time with my athletes, a lot of time building, building, building. And it's not just sports, but it's life. We talk about it all over here. Like it's life, it's school. I tell them, I want to know everything that's going on. It's one of those deals. So, it's almost like a father figure in a sense. And then when we out there, I think a lot of the success has to do, they want to succeed too, but they also don't want to let you down because
Mm.
of the work that's been put in.
Yeah, I love that. And it's so good for me to have this conversation with you because I'm about to be real. I'm about to be
Yeah, go
really,
ahead.
really real. So I was at a game. I don't know. It may have been Central Manual. I don't know which game it was, but I'm in the stands a lot and I take videos. And I don't know, a player came off the field and you just like lit into him and like yelling and all this kind of stuff. And in my mind, I was like, I don't respond very well to people yelling at me. Like I shut down. So obviously, you have a relationship with your players so that you can communicate with them in that way and they will respond. So are you able
Correct.
to figure out which players I can yell at or which players I don't yell at? Or since I have a relationship, I can just yell at everybody?
Oh, no, you definitely can't just yell at all of them. Because people are wired different. Some of them need it, some of them don't. Some of them you don't say anything to. Like, I mean, I even tell my assistants, like, don't say nothing to him. Let him go over there. He'll figure it out. You just that, but that goes back to the relationship building. Some of them, they need the kick in the butt to get going, to wake up, to get, So it just depends on who the athlete is. But you coach them hard, but you definitely don't coach them all the same.
Yeah, I love that. And so how is it like you said, you touched on it a little bit. A lot of these young men, maybe they don't have a father in the home. How percentage wise, the players that are on your team, do you have an idea of how many of them like have a father in the home versus they're looking at you as coach and dad and uncle and everything else?
I think for most of the part, Central's a pretty special place. I see a lot of the dads. I mean, they're very heavily involved. They're very supportive too. I would say that about the dads in my program. And one thing I'm big on is once they come to me, the parents have to relinquish some of that responsibility and turn that over. Like I'm spending more time with your child than you are. You are still the parent, but you have to let me do my job. That's the only way it's going to work. So we have a great relationship when you talk about me and the parents, and it comes into that.
Now, how are you able to so you said you have the parents like you need to relinquish it. This is my field, and I need you to be up there rooting for the junior in the
Yes.
stands, but I got this. And so I hear a lot of coaches talk about sometimes parents are their biggest obstacle. How have you been able to bridge that gap in the relationship with parents?
Yes. Give me 1 second. They are loud. I'm in this locker room. I'm gonna get them quiet real quick. So, hey, I'm on the podcast. It works kind of that easy. But back to your question, when you talking about the parents, I think that goes back to just being I don't really like the word transparent, but you try to be as transparent as you can and let them know from the start these are the non-negotiables, and then you hold your feet to the fire on it. And normally, once you make an example out of one, you don't have to keep doing it. So that's the way that works. Because everybody wants to watch their kid play. We all should be rooting for the same thing, which is the child.
Yeah.
So if it's not about the child and it's about the parent, the biggest thing is I try to, as a coach, to never punish a young man because of a situation I might have with a parent. That's the biggest thing
Mm,
is, if the child is doing everything he's supposed to do, let that kid play. You have some people that remove a child because they can't deal with the parent. Coach Dantzler ain't gonna have that problem. I'm gonna deal with that parent. We adults, and I'm gonna remind you, this is my show, and this is how it's gonna be done. But I'm not gonna punish that kid for it.
yeah. That's so good. That's really good. So in terms of, I know you said that you weren't from here, you're from Louisiana,
Yes, ma'am.
and Central is, I mean, Louisville. Okay, let me ask you this and then I'll go into that. So when you first got here from, how long have you been in Louisville, Kentucky?
7 years now.
Okay, 7 years. And so what I hear a lot from people who are not from Louisville is that Louisville can be cliquish.
Oh, very,
Did you experience?
very. It doesn't take long to see that.
Okay, all right. You didn't even let me worry. You're like, yeah, okay, great. So then, of course, Central is our bread and butter. And so, how was it that you were able to win over the Hearts? Because for someone to coach Central and not be from Louisville, how are you able to like win over the staff, win over the parents and everything? Besides, them championships, they help.
Yeah, that definitely helps a lot. I think that kind of solidifies. I always tell them everybody loves a winner, so that helps a lot. But I think the biggest thing was, just standing on what I promised. Like the things that I said I was going to do, I did them. And I put in the work. Uh, I was that way with the kids. I was that way with the parents, and in a short amount of time, we was able to win a state championship, and we was able to do it the right way. That was I have, because I didn't know anybody, so I had to do it the right way. You have to be aware and be motivated because we all know how it works. Everybody who smiles in your face at the end of the day, some of those individuals probably was hurting the feelings that I got the position, didn't get the position, or whatever it might be, which has nothing to do with me. I was just the person who got the job. But you win them over by continuing to work. You win them over by showing some grace too. I didn't take any of it personal. I think that helped a lot too. I kept the main thing the thing.
Yeah, that's good. So in terms of what's next for you, sounds like you really enjoy, where you're at and coaching. What would you say? And I'm going to skip. This is where I wanted to go. So having a rebuilding year, you can't have a season every year to where you're winning championships. What would you say to those coaches? And I'm thinking of one in particular, but I'm not going to call out any names. What would you say to the coaches that are used to having a winning season and they're not able to win?
Am I back?
Hey, yeah, welcome
Okay.
back. I was just asking about having a rebuilding year because every year is not going to be we're going to the championship. So when you have those years where maybe you had a big class graduate and
Yes.
or people transfer and go to another school or whatever happens, and you're looking at a squad right now that we might not even make it to the playoffs. So what would you say to the coaches out there who they're going through a rebuilding year? You've got parents, you've got the athletic director, you've got all these people coming at you to win. What are some things that you would say to encourage that coach?
I would say, the thing is, of course, you would love to win a championship every year, but that's a rarity within itself. I mean, a lot of people do this for years and never even play for one. So you have to have realistic goals. It's good to shoot for the moon. I mean, I'm one of those people. I think we should win it every year, but that's not realistic, and I have to be okay with that. The key is, as long as you're working as in the as long as you're working at that pace or working with that type of effort, we're going to always have a championship effort no matter what the outcome is, whether we lose in the first round, second round, third round, or whatever. It's not going to be because we didn't prepare. It's not going to be because we sat there and say, oh, you know what, we're not going to be very good this year. Let's just all take a vacation and then we'll get back to it next year. I don't think as a winner you can ever have that type of mentality, because a winner always has a winner punch. So it's like, sometimes you don't, we won it in 18, but I think we were better in 17. So
Mm,
the key is every year you prepare to win it, and and things got to align. I mean, there's things as a coach that you have no control over. One, you're dealing with teenage kids. That's the first thing. And teenage kids can do anything. Then another thing you get into, you can't control injuries and things of that nature. You hope that they take care of the academic part. If you're like me, I'm a disciplinarian. So, we sit guys over here. Some coaches won't. I will. I've lost probably 15 games at Central because I have benched a star player because he didn't do what I asked him to do. That goes back to, my rules are my rules, and I'm going to stand on them. And I think in the long run you win. So rebuilding is just part of it. We've went through it here at Central. I mean, we've been able to keep the standard really high, but you don't always get those championship teams. That's just part of, but that's not why you do it anyway. I've just been blessed to have some really good athletes and win a lot. I think you can have a championship culture which allows you to be consistent year in, year out. And that's what we try to be. We try to be a consistent program. And what I mean by that is no matter who walks through this door, Central's going to be a contender.
yeah, a championship culture. Yeah,
Yeah.
I like that. I like that a lot. Now this is our culture over here is championships. So, what are some of the things that you do in order to position your athletes for college coaches and to prepare them for the next level?
Well, one, you have to start when soon as they get here, they have to understand the importance of the GPA, because with grades, it opens so many more doors. Like I even explained to them, it's a difference in the level of Division One. FCS, they can partial and cut up their scholarships as opposed to the bigger schools where if you're on a four ride, you're on a four ride. And a lot of time that has to do with grades. uh, you can get so much academic money that you can almost pay for school that way. So we start with that. We start with the grades. I'm big on the attendance. We have a saying over here: your most important asset is your availability. It's not your athleticism. Coach Dantzler really don't care how good you are if you're not going to show up to work. So that's irrelevant. You know, uh, I need guys that's going to be here every day because once again, I'm a developer. So I believe if you show up for 4 years, there's no way you don't get better or you don't reach some kind of milestone, because then that'll be on me. You've been here every day doing what I've asked you to do. So we just preach those kind of things: availability, attendance, grades, character. Of course, they're kids, they're still learning maturity. All those things lead to being recruitable. You have to be recruitable. So a lot of times we have to educate the parents on that too. You know, you can think the coach is not doing what he's supposed to be doing, but is your child even recruitable? Like if you had $500,000, would you give it to them? Like, I mean, let's just be honest. The answer, for some of them, the answer will probably be no, because he ain't going to class, he ain't doing what he's supposed to be doing. And I think the biggest thing we have to do, when we're dealing with our young men is, they kids want two things. I tell them they want structure. They're going to fight you on it, but they want it. Nobody wants to operate in chaos. So they want structure and they want the truth.
Ooh,
And you can't kid kids. They might not say nothing, but they know who's full of it.
yeah, that's so good. And then in terms of life lessons, because I talk a lot about there's so many life lessons from sports that will parlay very nicely over into everyday life and the real world. What are some of the things that you see that, as far as being a developer, what are some of the things that you see in sports that go into everyday life?
I think even for me, what helped me, because as an athlete, I was one of the teammates where I didn't want to let the team down. That's what drove me. It wasn't the chasing the scholarships or anything like that. I was just more about the team, being a team player. I didn't want to be the weak link, so those things, those things motivated me. And so when you think about the corporate world and things of that nature, a lot of things involve team mentality. You have to be a team player. There's things you don't want to do, but for the greater good, you have to do it. You learn those in athletics. Those are things you'll learn. If you show up on time, you're late. We start practice, say at 6 a.m. You can't get out the car at 6 a.m. if we're starting at 6 a.m. You got to get dressed, all that. Well, the same thing applies at a job. You can't get, like, if I was teaching a class, you can't get your class ready at 7:20 and you're walking in the door at 7:20. You need time to prep and all that thing. So I think a lot of the things that you teach, and you also, the biggest thing is you learn, life ain't fair. you know, they have to. I think that's the biggest thing, especially at the high school level, because one of the things people don't realize is for the majority of the time before a kid gets to high school, he's competing against grade level. So, he's competing against guys of his age. And then all of a sudden you get to high school and they're all in a pod. So you got ninth, 10th, 11th, and 12th. So you might be the best ninth grader we have, but we also have 10th, 11th, and 12th graders too. So you might still not get to play because you're not better than those guys. Or vice versa. You might be a 12th grader and we have a ninth grader that's better. I mean, it can go either way. So life is not fair. You didn't do anything wrong. So teaching them, it's a production driven world. At the end of the day, production is what drives the market. Nobody hires me because I'm a nice guy. They hire me because I win, and I'm smart
Not because
enough to
you're
know
funny,
that.
not because you're funny.
No, not because I'm funny or any of that stuff. They hire me because I'm winning, because I win. And in structure, and you have to understand that production drives. At the end of the day, it's a product, and teaching them that at a very young age helps them when they become adults too.
Yeah, and I like what you said about life is not fair. And what I see this even at the NFL level. You're going up for a pass and you should have caught it, but you dropped it, or maybe they hacked you on the arm and then the official didn't throw the flag. And they're looking around like life's not fair. So how are you able to help your players to what I call finish through contact? If this is a catchable ball, catch the ball and don't expect the referee to call a penalty because you didn't finish out the play.
Yeah, I think, and one of the things I've done everywhere I've coached, and even my whole coaching career, is we lead the refs out the game. What, they're very subjective individuals. And what I mean by that is there's gonna be calls that's gonna go our way, and there's gonna be calls that's not gonna go our way. We have to live with the calls. I'm not, as a head coach, I'm not a complainer. I've never complained about officiating ever, even if it was bad. I just don't complain about it. It doesn't fix anything. It doesn't solve anything. I think you have to control the controllables. And what we can control is how we play. So we have to, and I teach that we have to control how we play. If we do the things we supposed to do, it'll take those officiators. It takes that out of the game. If you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. But the easiest thing to do is to point fingers and say, well, we didn't win because of this. But if you coach long enough, you're going to be on both sides of it.
Right.
Same thing. It's the same thing in life. It's easy to point fingers and say you didn't get something because of someone else. But what happened when you did get it? Was it because of them too? So, you're going to give them the blame. You're going to give them the credit. So,
Right. So how important is it to take ownership for yourself instead of, pointing the fingers? Because if you don't learn this at a young age, you'll be 30, 40, 50 years old still saying what your mama didn't do or what your coach didn't do or what whoever. How important is it to learn this at a young age? Take ownership for your actions.
well, yeah, I think the great programs, that's where they're separated. You have a lot of good programs, but the great programs, there is a lot of ownership among the parents and the players, as opposed to the coaches. I tell them in bad programs, nobody takes accountability. In the good programs, the coaches take accountability. But in great programs, the players take accountability. It's not the coach fault. It's not the ref fault. We have to play better. We have to do more. We have to be more accountable. You have to look yourself, because at the end of the day, it's us that's out there playing. So, it's just getting them to understand that. Now, we all know that there's things that happen and dynamics that's out of their control, but that doesn't mean you still don't own it. I think that's the most powerful thing an individual can do, is have some form of ownership, good or bad. It's like, I tell them all the time, if one of my assistants go do something, I'm the one that's the face of Central football. So I have to own that because I hired him. So it's just the way it works, even though I had nothing to do with it.
Yeah. And how are you able to handle that? Because you just open up a whole can of worms in terms of, like you said, you are the face of Central football. That's a
Yeah.
huge weight to have on your shoulders. How are you able to deal with that?
I think they're too loud.
I can't hear you.
So excuse me, guys. Let me get outside. Okay, this helps better. They're in there working out. We're doing conditioning. But far as you say, how do I don't know, bend the face?
Yeah, that pressure, that's a lot of weight on your shoulders to be the face of Central. How you handle that, or even, suggestions for other coaches how to handle that type of weight.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, if you want to be a head coach, you have to ask yourself, are you willing to give up some of your uh, public life? So the way that you do things in public have to change, because everybody's watching, especially in the day of age we're in now. Maybe 20 years ago, you got away with a little more. People wasn't just walking around with cameras. But now you could be in a supermarket anywhere, and you never know if you're being recorded. So I think that it's important that they understand that if you want to be, because that's the difference between being the assistant. I was an assistant for 10 years. I think that's the difference between being an assistant anything and being the head of something. Is that now you're the face, and with that you have to understand that you have to move a whole lot different. You could still be you, but you can't be you the way you were before you took that position. Because too much is given, much is required.
Oh yeah, for sure. So, and I know you're a busy guy. So, if we were going to put a bow on this entire conversation, thinking about players that are going to be listening, coaches that are going to be listening, all these different athletes that are going to be listening, like what would be like the bow or some things that you would want them to walk away with?
Uh, One is relationships. You have to build the right relationships. You have to value the right relationships. Uh, Also, sacrifice. Nobody great has ever been great at anything without some form of sacrifice. So if you're not willing to sacrifice things, you're probably not going to get the success or the level of success that you want. That's player, parent, and coaches. Like it's a sacrifice that comes into being able to be good at something. You know, if not, everybody would be able to do it. So you get into those things. I think another thing is, stick to your plan, have a vision, and don't deviate for it. I think that's been my biggest thing is I have my core values and I just live. I don't really care if somebody agrees with them. That's who I am. Like I tell, we change administration, but this is who I am. You don't like it, you might need to find someone else to do it. But I'm not changing, because I know that it works. The body of work says that it works, because everybody, and that would probably be my last point to anybody who wants to be a leader or go into leadership. We have to understand everybody wants to tell us how to do it. That's easy. Everybody got a suggestion. Everybody that don't have to answer to it.
Right. Everybody got an opinion.
Yes, everybody. I mean, you ain't even got to ask, but they got one.
Yes. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Coach Dantzler. I appreciate you so much. And kudos to the success that you have had as a Yellow Jacket. And I just appreciate you all. And best of luck to you and to the team as well.
Hey, I appreciate you. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
All right.